Hello, and welcome to The Art of Being Selfish. I am Dr. Sims, and today we are going to be focusing on being selfish in a physical area of our life. Specifically, we're going to be looking at our sleep. Getting good sleep is one of the most important things to make sure that you're living a fully functioning, happy, optimal, thriving life. If you're not getting good sleep, then it's going to impact a lot of different areas of your life. Typically, researchers tell you should get about 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night to make sure that you can do the things that you need to do during the next day. However, I want to focus more on getting quality sleep rather than just getting a set number of hours of sleep. Because at the end of the night, if you don't get quality sleep, you can stay in the bed and think that you're sleeping for 7 to 8 hours. But if it's restless and you're tossing and turning and you're up and down throughout the night, then it really doesn't matter if you got 7 to 8 hours of sleep. If they were horrible 7 to 8 hours of sleep, that's still not going to be good for you. And so, we're going to talk about how you can get good quality sleep. Think about the last time that you didn't get good sleep. The last time that you were tossing and turning, you were kind of up and down, but it just wasn't a good night of sleep. During that time, or after that, you probably felt really irritable, maybe a little more grouchy, a little more get annoyed a little more easily. You might have snapped on somebody. You may not have been as focused or have the greatest amount of attention to detail at the time. You probably got tired a little bit more early in the day. You also may have felt a little sad and couldn't really explain why. So these are some of the things emotionally that happen when you haven't gotten a good night of sleep. And so the way to be able to get better sleep is to practice good sleep hygiene. Specifically today we're going to focus on having a bedtime routine. So what is a bedtime routine? A bedtime routine is something that you do to prepare your body and to let your mind and your body know that it's bedtime. I typically suggest planning 30 minutes to an hour before you want to actually fall asleep as your bedtime routine time. I'm just going to go through and give you like some little tips and give you some of the different components that can be included in a bedtime routine, and then you can take that and be as creative as you want to be with it. So make it your own. These certain areas, you are going to have specific needs in those areas that are going to be different from other people, and so I want to make sure that you are able to kind of be creative and have fun with it. So one of the first components is to make sure that it does not include screen time. I know that you've probably already heard screens can definitely impact your ability to sleep at night. It gets your brain going. If you think about how bright your phone is in the middle of the day, it's telling your brain, hey, it's the middle of the day, we can be up, we can be active, we can be doing things, which is the complete opposite of what you want to actually be happening when you're sleeping. And so I know that I wanted to start with this one because I know that it's probably one of the most challenging aspects for a lot of people is having to put your phone down at a certain time. And so even if it's just like 15 minutes before you go to bed, that will work if we need to only make it that, but try as much as possible to limit the amount of times that you're on the phone during your bedtime routine time. Even if you do have it on for however long you decide to not have screen time, try to dim your phone, try to dim the screen, try to warm the screen in any kind of way so that the impact of it is not as much on your ability to fall asleep. The second thing that I want you to think about including in your bedtime routine is doing something relaxing. And so what calms me and what relaxes me is going to be very different from what calms you and relaxes you. And so these are just some of the things that I typically talk about including in a bedtime routine. So that can be meditating or mindfulness practices. It doesn't have to be very long. It can be 5 minutes of meditating or 5 minutes of doing something mindful. And you can always find things like apps or YouTube videos that can guide you through meditations. You can also do things like drinking some hot tea or drinking some chamomile tea or just drinking some warm water. That can be something that can relax you. Even listening to like some soft music or listening to like raindrops and waterfalls and things like that, which there are apps for that you can find all of that. And so just finding something that can start to relax your body, that can tell your body, okay, it's time to calm down, it's time to rest, is going to be really helpful. Another thing that can be really helpful and relaxing is doing some bedtime yoga yoga, and this could also get you into your little physical activity piece. But doing a few sequences, doing a sun salutation, or just doing some poses that can really help to get the body relaxed. Pinterest has all of the amazing little pictures of different little poses that you can do, and so it doesn't have to be anything difficult. Again, like 5 minutes or so can be really helpful in getting you prepared for bed. In the beginning, you might have to actually look at the picture a little bit to get this part done, but over time, the more that you're actually doing it, the more you'll commit it to memory. And so maybe this is something you want to do at the beginning of your bedtime routine, so that you're not looking at your phone, because I imagine that that's where you're going to be looking it up at. And then that can kind of set off your bedtime routine, so it's not as close to you getting in bed and impacting our screen time. Read a few chapters of a book. A lot of times for a lot of people, reading can be very soothing and can really make them sleepy, and so that can be helpful. Reading your Bible can be helpful. Having a daily devotional at the end of the night can also be one of those things that you can start to incorporate into your bedtime routine, and it will help you to sleep. And so the third component, actually the last component that I'll talk about, is developing a habit that you can associate with your bedtime. And so what I mean by that is just any kind of activity that wouldn't contradict bedtime, or it's something that you would do like around the same time as you're getting ready to go to bed. So some of the examples that I give to people is like brushing your teeth, showering, having a nightly hair regimen that you do, a facial treatment, or washing your face at the end of the night. So any small little thing that triggers, oh, it's bedtime, it can be consistent with the things that you would typically be doing to go to bed. Some people don't like going to sleep with dirty dishes, and so mindfully washing dishes can be really helpful. Tidying up, making sure your areas in your house, or your living areas in your house, are straight. That can be a part of your bedtime routine as well. So anything really that's just like something you can include in the routine that is also related to things that you would naturally do around the time that you're starting to shut down and get everything ready to go to bed. Now, I also want to just talk about some tips that can help your bedtime routine be successful. The first thing is to be consistent and not give up. And so you definitely don't want to try this one time and say, oh, this doesn't work for me. Most of the time when you try something one time, it generally doesn't work. It's something that you have to do over and over again in order to see the results. And so definitely, if you're going to practice a bedtime routine, you want to have this bedtime routine every night when you go to bed, because it starts to train your mind and your body to know that it is time to go to bed. When you start doing these things, your body should start to feel a lot more relaxed, and it should be a lot more ready to go to bed than if you weren't doing these things. You also want to make sure that you are making time for this. A lot of people will say, I don't have time to do it, I just pass out when it's time to go to bed. And realistically, if you're passing out, that means that you probably burnt yourself on both ends, or burning yourself at both ends of the candle, and so you're just super exhausted and super tired and ready to go to sleep. Whereas if you're actually getting good sleep, you have enough energy to get yourself through the day, and then you can start to plan to fall asleep. And so if you're saying that you don't have enough time to fit 30 minutes into a day for you to prepare to go to sleep, I would question what you're doing throughout the day. I talked about this before. Not having enough time is a myth. You can always make more time. What can you take out 3 times 10 minutes during your day to get an extra 30 minutes at the end of the day? Like, what are the things that you need to be doing to make sure that you do have that time at the end of the day? Because this is not just something that is a luxury or something random that you have to do. It really is something that is going to be beneficial to you. And so maybe pulling out some of those things that may not necessarily be as beneficial to you, and seeing how you can start to incorporate 30 more minutes, 45 more minutes, an hour of your day to making sure that you get good sleep at night. And then the last thing that I want you to think about is being intentional and focusing on effort. And so maybe for the first couple of nights, the first couple of weeks, it's only a 15-minute bedtime routine, and it's something that you have to work up to 30 minutes for. And it doesn't have to be a perfect bedtime routine. So maybe you ended up getting on your phone a little bit right before you close your eyes, That's totally fine. I just want you to be thinking about being more intentional. I want you to think about putting effort into making sure that you're getting good sleep. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. There may be some things that you feel like don't work that need to change here and there, and that's totally fine. But it really is about being intentional and putting that effort forward. I know that also another barrier that might come up is like if you have kids or if you have a partner, how that can work. But if you think about it, you can actually include them into your bedtime routine. So if you have a partner, I think an orgasm would be a great way to help you get better sleep. If you have kids, then maybe like reading a bedtime story to them or doing something with your kids that can teach them to have a bedtime routine as well. It can also help you get prepared for bed. So no excuses. Stop making excuses about why you can't do things. Think about how you can creatively incorporate those barriers into your bedtime routine and help you to get better sleep. So I'm really curious to hear what are some of the things that you all do to make sure that you're getting good sleep at night. Do you have a bedtime routine? And if you do, what are some of the things that you do right before you get to bed? Let me know. Put them in the comments. Looking forward to seeing you all next week as we talk about being selfish in other areas of our life. Take care.